Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Ramble. Today, we're going to be covering my thoughts, not the community's, my thoughts on Forestry, which came out last week. And so I've probably messed around with it for like 3 to 4 hours-ish. So I really haven't given it that much time, to be honest. I already am 99 woodcutting, obviously, so there isn't as much incentive. And when it was, now we have all the collection logs for it. So there's a little bit more incentive there now. But the first week, there wasn't any log slots to go for. So anyway, I did it for a little bit, and I'm just going to share my kind of initial thoughts. Now, there is going to be a phase 2 coming out, which I'll be 100% honest, I'm a little worried about, I'll be honest, just because I feel like the more convoluted forestry becomes, I don't know. I think one of the worries I have is like for returning players coming back to the game they used to play, old school RuneScape, and then chopping a tree and all this random shit's happening, and there's all these leaves and bonfires and whatever the hell else. I don't know. I think it's a bit too much, but these are, again, my thoughts. So I'm going to share my first impressions on what it felt like. So first off, I loved how active woodcutting was. I think forestry for that point is awesome. I think it's really encouraged people gathering together in a small section of trees and just having a good time, chatting it up. And that's really, I think, the core of what they nailed. I think all the tree timers are perfect. They've made it so there's consistency around the board with tree timers, and you're not punished for chopping the same tree as your friend. I remember like back in the good old days when, if you guys remember when you end Sears course and there's those like 4 yew trees or 3 yew trees, that was such an iconic spot to chop trees. And it was just fun being around people. But you always felt as if you were kind of like poaching on their spot, you know, like if you had like a lower wood cutting level and these people with gnome scarves and their freaking Cavaliers or whatever they were wearing back in the good old days, and you're like pulling up with your noob ass gear. Yeah, it wasn't a really good feeling when they stopped talking to you because you're chopping their tree. You know what I mean? Like, it was cool to have a conversation, but you know deep down they're like, can you please hop? But they're too polite to say so. Anyway, so that's a really cool thing that Forestry's done, is it's allowed players to gather around and just have a good time chopping. Now, I'm just going to share brutally honest how I feel about the events. Obviously, initially, I was only chopping with like 3 or 4 people, and the events weren't as common. I was chopping magic trees, by the way, by the Sorcerer's. Sorcerer's Tower, is that what it's called? Kind of like west of Sherlock. And then I went to a world, and that was fine. That was pretty chill because we didn't really get events as often. And I was kind of like, watching Twitch and just trying to chop. And then I hopped to a world where there were like 40 people chopping there. And it felt like events were very common. And it felt bad if you weren't like really on top of things. It felt like you kind of had to be there. And I know I can already hear the comments already. Like, you don't need to participate in the events. I know. But it kind of sucks when you feel like kind of like obligation to do these events really just really consistently. And honestly, the events are not particularly enjoyable either. That was my personal experience. The one enjoyable event is the roots one, where the green root spawns. Great. Just more of that, please. We need more of that. I didn't particularly like the ingredients where you have to make the 3 ingredients. And that was fine as long as you have people that just tell you what the code is, basically. The other one I didn't really enjoy was the flower event, where you're like kind of going and trying to find the flowers. And I think the biggest reason why that feels bad is because the XP drops, but you're still stalled for 1 more tick. Whereas throughout RuneScape, throughout Gillinor, most of the time when you get the XP drop, that's when you're able to move again. Like, think of most agility shortcuts. When you see the drop, you can move again. And I think that just needs to be a little bit just changed up a little bit, if anything. Just make it so you can move more fluidly. I think that was just kind of annoying. I was also on a really high ping world because that's where everybody was, so that didn't help either. Leprechaun, great. I love the Leprechaun. I think like if it really was just like a Leprechaun in the Roots event, oh, that would be great. Chill wood cutting with your bros. You get an amazing event where you just AFK, keep chatting along, and then you get a Leprechaun that banks your logs here and there. Like, how great would that be? Can I get an amen down in the comments? Okay. No, but seriously, I think that would be great. But that's not how it works. And, for reasons that I completely understand, they want to encourage engagement. One of the other problems was I felt the necessity to hide everybody. That sucked. It sucked that we have this brand new woodcutting thing that is getting everybody engaged into woodcutting, and then you have to hide everybody just to like see what's going on, basically. Now, of course, this isn't always going to be the case. I think when the worlds are really crowded, you kind of have to entity hide. But I don't really know what they can do about that. So those are my honest thoughts. Now, I do like that you're getting rewards. You're getting the anima bark or leaves or whatever, the anima bark from the events. I personally think the events should be really reward focused and very light on XP. I don't think there should, I would literally even be okay if there was no XP given from the events, and that's only for rewards, and you could pimp out the reward shop, go ham there. But the real, core XP is just chilling with your friends, chopping trees and getting little boosts if more friends join around. Now, of course, in part 2, I think they're going to come out with these campfires that you can light that increases certain things. That would be cool if that was coming out and that was the only thing. But I feel like there's way too much coming out with part 2. I'm just going to take a look. So the things that are coming out with part 2 are expanded systems behind gathering leaves, a ton of new events, 6 new events, by the way. New rewards. The two-handed axes seem cool. The tea brewing and the campfires are just a little bit too much. I think there's just going to be a lot going on, but who knows? I know it's going to be too much because I already feel like it's too much as is. But those are my personal thoughts. I would love it if they just kept it pretty simple. And the reason I want to keep it simple is because this is throughout the entire game. So you can't really just woodcut in peace traditionally like you could in the past. Like you can, but there's going to be random events spawning all the time. These, I dare I say it, Toontown events just spawning all the time. Just feels weird. So my personal thoughts. Now, I want to also just state real quickly that I have to remember I'm a player that's maxed. I don't really have any actual incentive to do woodcutting besides just getting some log slots. So I'm trying to be very aware that this content is not for me. It's really not for me. It's for those players that are trying to push for a higher level of woodcutting or to max and just have a better time. So I really do think the very good things from this update, though, is just the community gathering. You can chop trees with friends. When you start adding more and more and more and more, it just, to me personally, it feels off. It just feels off. So those are just my honest thoughts on it. The rewards are cool. I like the reward shop. I like that you can get this bark and stuff from doing the events. I wish the events weren't really centered around XP. They've already made some good changes where you need to have been logged in the world, I believe, in order to participate in the events and get XP, which is good because I think day 1 and day 2 people were just kind of hopping around getting XP. So at least they fixed some of those things. XP seems very fair for the most part. If you're going to be engaging in all the events, that's cool. So let me pull this up real quick. I know my face cam is not up. Oh, let me close out of that. So now, there we go. So now we do have all the forestry stuff in the other tab. And why is the Y being cut off? Oh no, we got to make that Y continue. Jagex, what is going on here? Keep that Y going. Also, I want to share some other news real quick. So anyway, yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on forestry a little bit. I would imagine some of you probably agree with me. Some of you are like, it's great as is. You enjoy the chill events here and there and whatever. So anyway, this was not necessarily a ramble to bash on it. I'm just sharing how I feel about it. I feel like it could have been kept very simple, and I'm a little bit worried about part 2, going to be honest. Even though I think there's going to be some clue tea, which, definitely speaks to me. So we'll see what actually comes out. I will hold off my thoughts for the most part until it actually lands. Also, I want to just share this. I got my Zuck helmet back fine. Oh my God, 7 days, 7 hours. I'm a total nerd. Yeah, but I did get my Zuck helmet back, which feels really good. That it only took me 10 months. I lost my Zuck helmet with the release of TOA tasks, and now I have it back. So that took a long time. And of course, we're going to get more CA tasks with the 4 new Desert Treasure bosses coming out. So that probably won't actually land for a few more months from now. Desert Treasure 2 bosses are coming out. Desert Treasure 2, the quest as well, is coming out July 26th. So I would imagine maybe like late September, early October, they actually come out with the combat achievements of it. We'll see. But I don't like upkeeping stuff. I really don't. Imagine you had to upkeep achievement diaries all the time. You just keep adding more stuff. Like they nailed achievement diaries, even though, you know, besides adding a completely new one for whatever it is, Kollin and Cabos, that was a good idea, I think. I'm glad that they don't just keep adding more and more and more tasks. So that's kind of cool. Although, you know what I wouldn't be against? Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm pointing at right now. I'm sorry. I keep thinking, okay, how do I pull this up where you can see my game and my, yeah, I've completely butchered this. I'm sorry. But anyway, so achievement diaries, that'd be kind of cool if they came out with like master tasks. I actually wouldn't be opposed to that as long as you get to keep your cape potentially. I don't actually know how that would work. But anyway, upkeeping's annoying. So we'll see what comes out with Desert Treasure 2. But I'm excited to see, you know, how the bosses play out. I'm excited to see if there's... I was talking to Badman, by the way, earlier today. You guys got to check out that Sebe cast. It'll be up probably maybe later tonight, actually, potentially. Maybe early in the morning as well. We'll see, though. And it's a great cast. Me and Badman are just talking all about, like, Iron Man stuff and just the state of the game and, you know, some PVM stuff. He's a pet hunter PVMer. So it was really fun. So go check that out. But we were talking about Desert Treasure 2 bosses, and hopefully one of them is like shits out clue scrolls like Sarachnis does potentially. So we'll see. Anyway, this was just a short little ramble I just wanted to make on Forestry. Later, I will be making a ramble regarding sailing. So much has come out about sailing, and I really haven't covered much at all. So it'll probably be a ginormous ramble on sailing. So look forward to that, boys and girls. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Also, all of these rambles and the Save casts obviously are on Spotify, so down in the description, if you guys want to listen to these rambles at work or something, just go click on that Spotify link. I believe they're also on other podcasting platforms as well, but I know Spotify is the most popular. So anyway, guys, thank you for listening, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.